Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Freeman Files here on the J Free 906 podcast channel. Tom and Seth here with us again tonight. How you guys doing?
Doing
Doing
great.
well. Doing well.
All right, good deal. We are going to be talking about the Curse of Oak Island season 12, episode number 20
20. Wow.
of 24 or 25, 26. I don't know.
26.
We don't know
Let's
yet.
go for 26.
All right.
The big
Episode
2-0.
number 20, which is Just Beat It. Okay. Yeah. And you know what, folks? I really appreciate you all being here. As many of you that are here right now, because I have to say right off the bat, I was wrong. Okay. I like to admit, I don't like to admit, but I admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong. I thought there was only 4 and then 5 caissons put in the ground. Now it looks like there's 6, 7. I was wrong. I really didn't think there was that many even put in.
Nope. I guessed 4. That was mine. Oh, shows you what I know.
Yeah, shows you what I know as well.
I didn't even venture a guess because I think last season we ran a poll on the Facebook group. How many caissons this year? And I was like, no, the first one, they're going to get it. And I'm always off. So this year I thought, I'm just going to wait and see.
Wait and see. I know, right? So, yeah. So there we go. We've got at least 6 because they've already done 5. We've seen 5 so far.
Mm-hmm.
And Marty said last night, we have time for either 2 short or 1 deep, or 2 shallow and 1 deep. Well, I'm thinking it's the 1 deep is what I'm thinking. So
hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. All right. I thought I had Tom muted. Sorry about that. So, also wanted to let you all know that no show on Wednesday, April 30th. That is 2 weeks from tonight, right? Today is, 2 weeks from tonight. April 30th, there's no show that week. We're going to double up the following week, and it's because I'm going out of town. Christina and I will be out of town that entire week. Going to go down to Tennessee and do a little mission work. So we'll be gone that week. So no show on April 30th. We'll just double up the following week.
So Oak Island's happening.
Yeah, Oak Island will be on. Yeah, the Curse of Oak Island will be on Tuesday night, but no. Jeff means no podcast. Oh,
yeah. When he said no show, I thought, well, is that
sorry?
Well,
yeah, call it. It's hard. People say, a podcast. Everybody thinks about a podcast being a voice,
right?
Something you listen to. Right?
No, people got to see our faces. I mean,
well, so it's a show, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. I did mean no podcast. There is an Oak Island show on Tuesday night. There's no podcast on Wednesday, April 30th. So we're going to double up the following week. We'll cover that. So hopefully you guys will be all ready for that. And get, I got to pay extra for that. I know. So
right, 5 hours. Yeah, that's probably about how long we'll go.
It might be. Oh, well, I tell you what. Last night we had, I thought was a pretty good show. There were some interesting things, a little disappointing stuff, but I thought overall it was pretty good. So we'll get on with that. As we go along here. And again, folks, thank you for being here with us tonight. We really appreciate everybody tuning in and joining us to go over all of this. Episode number 20, Just Beat It tonight. And as I always say, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And also click on that notification bell so you know when we have some new material coming out, because sometimes we do that. And if you like the content of the show we do for you here tonight, consider giving us a thumbs up down there. Because that kind of helps with the whole YouTube thing. We appreciate it very much. All right, let's dive into it. We do have a giveaway again tonight, just every night or every Oak Island show, and it's this here. It's a metal sign. It's a metal sign. Nothing will stop them, the Curse of Oak Island. And then a coin, an old Roman coin. 2 coins. Okay, so 2 coins, sorry. I thought that was one looking at both sides. So 2 coins tonight, and these are donated by Michelle Tomeyer. So thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that very much. And we'll get to that, and we'll do that giveaway here in just a little bit, and we'll get to talk about those. All right, let me get my pictures set up here. I do have a lot of pictures tonight, but I'm going to try to go through them kind of quickly so nobody gets terribly bored or anything with all of that kind of stuff. But yeah. A lot to talk about. I just couldn't help myself.
There is.
All right, so let's get started. Episode number 20, Just Beat It. As we always see, generally going on, the guys start off right in the money pit, and they're now getting ready to put this stack this caisson here on. It gets them down to 102 feet when it's all the way down, which it is not at the moment. And they're working on RP3, Rick's Pick 3, which is our third caisson. You had TB1, and you had the one over in Aladdin's Cave, which is still a heartbreaker for me because now Aladdin's Cave is probably filled with backfill. So that's the end of that. But we've had RP1, RP2, and RP3. And we're going to talk about RP3 a little bit and more as we go along tonight. I grabbed this picture here because I was really happy to see this man right here.
Hey.
And Henske is still part of the team. And this man, he's a incredible guy. I'd love to meet him. One of these days, I hope I get the chance to meet him. But he's the man who knows pretty much about the most about living person that knows the most about Oak
Dan would be the sort of oldest living
searcher. Yep. I think so. Yep. When they came up with this one particular hammer grab, they got down to, well, they were at initially, Alex came over. He was talking to Adam and John from SB Canada. And at that point, they were down about 67 feet. And interesting thing about this particular thing here was that when they were going down into, they basically went through entirely into shaft 6. They went down the left side, then they went, let's call it the west side and the east side. They went right down that shaft. This time they stepped just, I'm going to say north of it. Do you guys agree that it was north? Yeah. North of it? You know, you look at this picture here, and it looks like it's north of it.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit there. So these two, they went right down into the caisson or into the shaft 6, and then this one they went just north of it. The interesting thing was that they didn't hit any wood. It was all in situ, I guess you would say, all the way down, and at about 67 undisturbed soil is what they called it, undisturbed soil. And they wanted to make contact with this 17-foot tunnel that shaft 6 was all about. Go down there 118 feet, go over 18 feet and hit the money pit, and then come up into it a different way, trying to access the treasure. Of course, that was foiled, and there was the big collapse and everything. So, and they were talking about the fact that they had hit wood on the other ones. You know, they were pulling up all that wood about 117 feet. RP stands for Rick's Pick. Rick's Pick 1, 2, and 3. Those were his because he was so dedicated on finding and knowing shaft 6 was there.
I think Marty was pretty convinced that's the place to look too.
Yeah, I agree.
Marty was really hoping to get some proof out of there.
Yep. So they get down to that level, and lo and behold, you see what Adam says. Man, that's a lot. That's the most wood that we've pulled out so far, just like that. And never seen that before. The way it was grouped together.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then, you know, here, this shot here, and then I'm going to ask Tom to elaborate a little bit, but you got these two shots. You got, you know, the hammer grab comes out of the caisson with all this wood hanging off from it. And then you look at this next picture as it's coming over to drop it. It's like, well, wait a minute. Well, that's not the same hammer grab.
Not in my opinion.
No, it wasn't the same hammer grab. It was two different hammer grabs, and then they dump them on the ground there. I wanted to see those.
Yeah, they didn't give us a close-up look at that.
No. And even after that, when they were cleaning up that mess and they were loading the wood into the bucket, there's no wood in that bucket that's even remotely close to those pieces that are hanging down.
No.
They're all just little broken scraps.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting that they were like that, huh, Tom?
If anybody out there knows how you can put that hammer grab down that hole and pick up 4 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of wood plus a piece of timber, right?
I see 6.
Yeah,
4 and the timber. I see
4 planks and 2 timbers, or basic,
and pick them up so that they're sitting like they were just stacked.
Yeah.
Like there's no way.
Yeah. How is that
If it was a
possible?
wall,
Mhm.
right, or
Yeah.
like this, or like this, whatever, that hammer grab is not going to take them and go, okay, let's line them all up nice and neat before I pull them up.
No.
Right.
Right? That's not going to happen. I mean,
How in the
I'm
heck?
not a miner. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
only thing
How
I
in the
can
heck
think,
is that possible?
the only thing I can think of is they nailed it with the caisson. Okay. We know they got shaft 6 cleaned out, 14 feet worth, right? RP1, RP2.
Mhm.
RP3, really, I would have put it a lot further away than that, but they
Yeah,
didn't.
me too.
They put it right next door. They put it basically at the bottom of shaft 6. We know that the tunnel from shaft 6 to the money pit was never completed.
Right.
What we don't know is if they had the wood down there stacked up against the wall that was there to complete it.
Oh,
I
interesting.
think maybe. Yeah. That's a good
Right.
point.
So if you had all that wood stacked up down there somewheres, and you just, by the grace of you know who, happen to drop that caisson right down over it, and that wood is just stacked up against a wall somewhere being ready to be used,
Mhm.
and it didn't get flushed away in the Great Flood.
Right.
It
The
picks it
Great
up.
Flood. I like that. The Great
Yeah,
Flood.
it picks it up and brings it up to the top. Other than that, there's no reason for it to be stacked like that.
I
That I
can't think
know
of
of.
another
Unless
reason.
somebody else knows of a reason. I can't think of one.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
can't either.
So if
So
anybody knows, now's your chance.
yeah, let us know. If you're in the chat and you have a good idea of why that wood is all
Yeah.
stacked just
That
like
lumber
that.
that was in that grab is not that lumber that came out of that.
No, those are two different hammer grabs. Yeah. And we don't know if it's the one with all the, these here. We don't know if that was after or before
Yeah.
the other one.
And
But
I think that's milled lumber. Like I think that's from,
Mhm.
that's newer, like
It
1861.
looks new.
that's
It's been through a
1860.
mill of
Yeah.
some sort.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's pretty uniform.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think so too.
Mm.
Yeah, they are very uniform. And here's the other thing too about that. And this is one of Tom's shots here. You got a 7-foot caisson, so you're kind of estimating the length of that wood. Is it 4 foot?
4 foot. The tunnel that runs from shaft 6 to the money pit was 3 feet wide and 4 feet high.
There you go.
Yep. And that is according to this.
Mhm.
Macaulay said this is out of the Oak Island Odyssey, Scott Clark's book, and it says that Macaulay says that the tunnel leading from the west shaft to the money pit, which was 17 feet, was 4 feet high and 3 feet wide.
Mhm.
So
if you think for a second now, just thinking out
thank you,
loud here,
Colette. Thank you very much.
just thinking out loud here, if you're 17 feet away and your target is 18 feet to go around the inside of that tunnel, you're going to need 4 pieces a foot wide
And what do we got in that
to line the inside of that tunnel. You're going to need
Yeah.
4 pieces a foot wide.
Yeah. Those are pretty wide boards right there.
Mm.
Those planks.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just blows my mind how they could
I
manage
really wanted to see those.
and look above into the hammer grab.
Mhm.
That's just all the gunk and muck and stuff that was on top of it. They
Mhm.
got lucky. They reached down and just happened to grab it by the top and plucked it out.
Yep.
They actually plucked that right out of something.
Yeah. Now, I had asked the question, later on, I was talking about, whether or not all these 5 caissons that they've done up to this point have been a waste of time or not. Because the results were no treasure at the end of them. I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit in just a second here because I don't think so. I really don't think so. By the way, thank you very much, Colette. Appreciate that. Warren says, wishing my Oak Island family a very happy Easter. Thank you, Warren. And Warren has a donation there too. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, helping out the channel. Yes, we do too, Colette. We do too. Well, I've got a lot of friends up in Canada, and we respect and love you guys very, very much. Very much. So here's a picture. This particular picture, I wanted to look for those boards, and I'm trying to see exactly where they were because, like Tom was thinking about, were they 4 foot long? Because if that tunnel was 4 feet high and 3 feet wide, then yeah, that would make sense that you have the 4 foot pieces. But I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
They've cleared out the ones from RP1 and RP2 have been cleared out already, and now you got RP3 wood sitting there.
And the big difference between those two pictures, between RP1 and RP3, look at the size of the pieces of timber they pulled up from RP1.
Yeah.
Right. They're all 2 and 3 feet, maybe. Look at the ones from RP3. They're significantly longer.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's more plastic bags.
Yeah, there's a lot more plastic bags on there too. They're going to be dating some of those for sure.
So the stuff that came out of RP1, I think, is a lot of that stuff that got blown back up into the hole.
Yes.
Just debris
from
the debris from the collapse. And the stuff that they're pulling off from RP3 is actually tunnel material.
Right. Yeah. There's some boards there, some planks coming out of there. And again, we don't know if that's which hammer grab that is. I think that's they were throwing a bunch in there, but that's a lot. There's a lot of wood here.
Yeah.
So, you look at this wood and they didn't hit any of this. That's the point to think about too, that they didn't hit any of this wood until they got down to that target area of about 116 feet, 117 feet, somewhere around there.
116, which makes sense. Because shaft 6 was 118 feet. And then they had to go back up to the money pit, right? Because they were shooting for the bottom of the money pit, which means they're going to be going up on an incline. So if you only went outside of that by a couple of feet, then yeah, you're going to be at 116.
Right. And that's absolutely, that is so telling. And that's why I'm going to, even though here we go with these guys right here, Rick thought for sure that this was going to be the one that brought up some sign of treasure, something, and he was really you watched the show last night and we've talked about this before about the disappointment. We're disappointed, all of us watching the show. We're like, geez, they didn't, can you imagine how he feels? And here is a case where Marty was the one telling him, hey, we're going on, man, this is not the end of the world. And
that was pretty cool. That
was cool. Yeah. What was it? He said, I feel like you're having a crisis of faith. And the funny thing is, I'm not.
Yeah.
He was surprisingly optimistic. And I think that was, it's just.
Marty's a science guy.
Yeah. And on a personal level, too, like these two guys are brothers. And that brotherhood really, they were, like I think if it was just Rick or just Marty doing the search, they would have given up. They need each other.
Yeah.
And that was one of those moments where I really felt that bond and thought, man, thank God they have one another because, Marty lifted me up because seeing Rick crushed.
Yeah, me too.
I thought he was crushed, and that's
and of
hard.
course the producers start playing that soft violin.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I hate that part of it, but
as soon as they do speech time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Rob says it hurt to see him like that. Yeah, it did. Very unusual for Marty. Sherry says very unusual for Marty to feel like that. Rick was about to tear up there a little bit, maybe because he had put so much into this. Shaft 6. This was his baby that he looked at for years and years and years. After all the research he had done from the past searchers, this was his one. If he could find Shaft 6 and prove Shaft 6 was there. And this guy was saying earlier about the waste of time. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
I don't think they went far enough up that side tunnel.
I'm with you.
They're only 7 feet away on an 18-foot run. And whatever came down that money pit shaft, if there was anything there, it's going to hit hard and it's going to stick.
Yeah. Or fall into something.
Or it kept going.
Now, here's why I said, were they a bust? And that's the way I wrote tonight's thumbnail and title. Was the first 5 caissons a bust? And my answer to that is no. Absolutely no. Because now Aladdin's Cave, yeah, maybe so. I really wanted to see Aladdin's Cave. I wanted to see a camera and sonar down in there.
Yeah.
I wanted to see.
Yeah, that was a complete bust. I'd say Aladdin's Cave. Yeah, because it's just, we didn't get anything. It was just, it's black. Sorry, guys. And then boop, on to the next.
Yeah, exactly. And I was very disappointed. Now the fact that it's full of backfill and we'll never get to see it.
Yeah, I can't draw an X through that. It's still unknown.
Right. Exactly.
Like, whereas, sometimes you get to the bottom and they call it and it's like, well, at least you can draw an X on that spot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's Zig's birthday tomorrow? Oh, well, happy birthday. Happy early birthday, Zig. Gosh, he's been helping out the show quite a bit. And I've got one of his slides here, one of his pieces of work that I'm going to show here in just a little bit too. So we can talk about that. But yeah, happy birthday, Zig. All right. So going back to, were they a bust? No. Caisson TB1, I'm going to talk about that one in a minute, but RP 1, 2, and 3 have proven, in my opinion, and Marty's opinion, they have proven that shaft 6 existed. They found shaft 6, and Absolutely. They know about the tunnel heading towards the money pit because they just hit it again with number 3. That helps them to know exactly where the money pit, original money pit shaft is. And that's why I say they are not a bust. Now,
and anything that gives Laird an aha moment and makes him say, oh, crap, which the pipe came out of RP1 or RP2?
RP1, I think.
Yeah. So that's huge. That's like, they didn't find treasure, but that wash plant paid off.
Yep.
Because the pipe, that's still, that was a cool lesson as well, learning about the stems. And
Yep. Exactly. Hey, there's Jake. Hey, Jake, how you doing?
Yeah. So anything that helps connect the story in a very real way, where archaeologists and people like me agree, wow, that's cool. It's not a bust. It's important, and it moved it forward. And it's heartbreaking that the treasure wasn't there, and not even like evidence of treasure, just wood. Where I'm like, where are the tools? Where's everything fell in the solution channel? How big is this opening into the solution channel?
Yeah.
So it makes me have a lot of questions, but certainly other than Aladdin's Cave, I've been really excited by the Caisson operations.
Yep. And you asked the question, when we had Laird, I know I said this before, we had Laird and Terry and Steve on the show, and we were doing a live with them. And you asked the question, is it possible that it could have fallen deeper? And they were all like, watch where you're going, Terry, or careful, Terry, is what Steve said. It's careful, Terry.
Well, it was our conversation with Jeremy Church. Is that his correct name? If I'm remembering, It was where he took us through and showed us the cavities under there that even made me think that, maybe it could have fallen into what Jeremy showed us.
Yep.
And when you think about all the drilling that's been done, all the caissons that have put down, everything that's been done to that top 100 and whatever amount of feet you want to call it, when you're putting those caissons down there, they're not going down like just through a piece of butter. They're grinding, they're vibrating, they're causing a lot of friction, a lot of subterranean noise. There's so many holes in that solution channel ceiling right now. The integrity has got to be like gone. And case in point, thank you for bringing that up. You led me right into this one. This is TB1. Remember TB1? Oh, I thought we could skip TB1.
TB1 had a collapse, and they had mentioned something about TB1, and this is why I didn't add it to the wasted caissons. I think 4 of the 5 we've seen so far have been very important, and they said that TB1 was most likely on top of the original money pit. Now it collapsed, and it collapsed in a big way, and they put more fill in there, and it went down. They put some more fill in there, and it went down. Where did it all go? Could it, and I'm going to throw this out there, and I'm going to ask this question, could it have collapsed all the way down into the solution channel? I know it's a long way, and I know it's a long shot, but
what did they say they put in that hole? Like something like 40 yards of gravel or something?
Yes.
Some ridiculous, I'm going to call it ridiculous, but I mean, that's like, if a tandem dump truck holds 20 yards, that's a big dump truck. That's 2 dump trucks. So where did that soil go? It had to go somewhere. So it doesn't evaporate.
It had to go somewhere. Yeah. So I'm thinking TB1 was not a bust. I think that on their way down, when they said the bottom fell out, I think we've had another collapse. And I think it went on down further with it. Like Tom just said, this has been so Swiss cheesed that the ceiling of anything down there has to be weakened so badly that, yeah. Where does the solution channel go? Well, hang on a minute. And I just wanted to say too, I see John Edwards out there. Hey, John, hope you're doing well. And Jake Roberts. Yes, I heard Jake has a new, and I missed your show. So I'm sorry I missed your show on Sunday. We had something else we had to do. I haven't seen it, but I heard you have a new intro. That's really awesome. I can't wait to check it out. What was that? What was that slide you just had up, Linda? You had the comment. I just missed that. Oh, there's another solution channel down at 200 feet as well. Who is to say that they are not both connected as well? Interconnected.
200 feet. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or they weren't connected, but they are now.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think they are now. And here's one of we're looking. Oh, this is not one of the. I'm sorry, Zane. I thought this was the slide I had for you, but it isn't yours. This is actually Steve Guptill's. But you look at this picture down here, and you see the solution channel right here, running right through here. Okay, that's their guesstimate of where the solution channel is, right through this on the green lines right there. And one of the Caissons, they did 2 in shaft 6, and one of them, the newest one, they put it right about here, just north of the shaft 6 to hit the tunnel again that they made. As Tom was saying, they probably should have went over here further. I don't know. They put all kinds of them in, I don't know. It's hard to say when they're there and we're not. And here's the thing. Now, remember the Muon data. Yeah. Remember the data here. Now, this down here, this blob down here was of high interest to a lot of people. And that's down in your 200-foot level down there. This one here is not quite so deep. I don't have the scale on the side to show us how deep it is, but this one was right around 200 feet, a little more than 200 feet. And this one up here was a little higher than that. And I think this was the tunnel that they were saying was heading from Aladdin's Cave, or that direction, heading north towards kind of towards the garden shaft area. So,
and drilling to a depth of 200 feet is not unheard of. It's not a new idea, right? You take a look at the Becker drilling program, 1967. They hit bedrock at 160 feet. They eventually drilled to 200 feet, where they found 2 layers of wood separated by blue clay and some form of concrete, cement.
Yep.
So going down to 200 feet is not, other programs have gone to 179, 180, 171, 182, right? It's not unheard of to go down 190, 200 feet. It's not a new idea. So get down there.
Yeah. Get down there. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we had the Muon data here showing that. And then we had the seismic data that was showing us this. And there's C1. This is part of what is now, I think, a solution channel. And this is right here off the tip of this, what looks like a hand doing this. Right off the thumb here, H8 was right there.
Yeah. Zig asked how deep was 10X. 10X was 235.
Yes. Now 10X is also 20 feet higher in elevation, the surface. The land surface?
It could be 10 feet probably, yeah. Okay, 10,
15 feet. Okay. So you have H8 right here. So we definitely have solution channels going crazy down here. Now here's this little, and I'm going to talk about these for a second too. Tim, thank you very much, Tim. They should have used a honeycomb method to cover more ground around shaft 6. Yeah, that would have been good, huh?
Yeah, I would love them to do the whole money pit with the honeycomb. I mean, I know there's probably a lot of reasons why it's unfeasible, and they could be more surgical and precise, especially now with what they know. But at least in areas like this, let's just get it all.
Yep,
I'm with you, Tim.
Yep. Now here's this one. I did a little, and I'm gonna promote myself here a little bit. There's a couple of different videos that we had done. This one was a little short that I had done. It was an overlay of the muon data over top of the money pit. And look where remember that red blob? The red blob right there, the one down here at 200 and some feet, look where it lines up. And that's right about here on this end of it is about where they are right now. Okay. And they're going to move back over to another spot. I think that's the last caisson. They're going to try to hit the solution channel. So I think they're going to be, and if they go down that far, there's a good chance that they're going to hit the solution channel. And we know that they left a caisson in the ground over winter. So what is that telling us? So I had two videos, one of talking about the muon data. It's only 3 minutes long. And then another one I had was this overlay. And the other one I had was all these little shorts, about 10, 13 minutes, somewhere around there, that I had that was about when we had Jeremy Church on from Panther Geoscience. They're the ones that did these seismic data. Both of those videos are real short. You can check them out in the description below. There's a link to them. You can click on that link and go right and watch those real quick because they kind of cover where the guys are going now on their next caisson. So I think it's, a good time to be talking about those one more time. Now, that muon data lines up pretty nicely there. This is more of the solution channel from Jeremy Church and the Panther Geoscience, the seismic data. This whole area, folks, all the way from Smith's Cove, which is over here. This is Smith's Cove, and over here to the money pit. You're talking a solution channel. And somebody asked the question, what is a solution channel? A solution channel is it's wet. It's like either a body of water or with mud and clay and, it's a wet area that's down there underneath there. Am I describing that well, Tom?
Yeah, it's not solid earth. It's
right.
It's moving. Now, solution channel could be just open water, could be an open channel, or it could be actual physical moving earth that is being moved by water.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a solution of earth and water, earth and rocks, or whatever, almost like a underground lava flow. Really, I mean, you think about it in some places.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. That's a good point.
And in other places, it's wide open. It's clear channel.
But there's
no solution there that we can find yet.
Yeah, good point.
And is this? Is the water coming from the ocean, so it's salt water, or is it underground fresh water?
I think it's salt water, personally.
It's salt water, yep. Down that deep is salt water, they say.
Yep.
Are there any wells?
Up higher, there is sources of fresh water that do enter into.
Because I was going to ask, I know on the other side of the island, they have freshwater wells. Do they have any on the money pit side? I mean, I guess they had to.
It was homesteads over there, so I'm going to guess and say yes.
Yeah, there had to have been at some point. You bet. Yeah. Yep. So solution channel, like almost this entire area of the money pit down to Smith's Cove.
It's almost scary looking at this because it makes me fear like, oh, it's just all washed out. Across this whole area. Treasure.
You can see where H8 is right there. And there's
you got to go with the science, right? The readings are silver and gold.
It's there. You're right. It's there. Hopefully not scattered.
The instruments have read it. So
yeah. Absolutely.
And
that's where you go back to Marty and trust the science.
Yeah. It's not an opinion. It's an actual instrument reading. So
Yep. Exactly. So here's H8. There's C1. The triangle is C1. So you can kind of get an idea of where they are with those. Overlay that. And this was great. We had 2 episodes with Jeremy Church from Panther Geoscience. We had one that was covering mostly just the swamp. And he took it layer by layer by layer in the swamp. That was a great explanation of what's below there. And then he did this one here, talking the part 2 was about the money pit and elsewhere on the island. And he showed these. I thought they were so informative. Very good.
Yeah, he had a whole this was what I was about to say. We got to go in it,
This is
visualize inside of it.
This is what his data was showing inside the solution channel. This is inside of it. So it's big and it covers a lot of area. And, was it originally, I mean, that begs the question, was it originally something similar to the flood tunnel that has just over the years become bigger and bigger and bigger? I don't know. Hard to say.
Were there ever any flood tunnels? Maybe it's just always been, because
That's a good point. I mean,
my
it really
question, I guess, to Tom, because I feel like you recall, and we're more, so well read. Is there any actual like evidence of people talking about, oh, we constructed a flood tunnel, or have the stories of flood tunnels always come from searchers saying we came across flood tunnels? Maybe they were never flood tunnels.
The only thing I have read was the Duc d'Envie said he was going to dig a tunnel to the shore.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't say flood tunnel or French drain.
Just a tunnel to the shore.
Nope.
Okay.
I suspect there's no flood tunnels.
The only other evidence I've found is the dye came out down there when they dumped it in
Right.
not could be a solution. So the dye came out, but with all of the fibers, whether you want to call them coconut or palm or whatever you want to call them, fibers, the actual structures down there, and just the general layout of the area is why they think there's flood tunnels there. But I don't know if I've ever read anything, any document by any person or persons that said we constructed flood tunnels.
Nope.
I mean, yeah, and maybe Warren asked a good question. How do we explain the coconut husks? Could that be just part of the construction for the huge, I don't know if slipway, is that the right word for what they uncovered down there?
Well,
all the woodworking
about all that stuff.
It could be.
Was that David Neeson's book?
The theory on the fibers is that it acts basically like almost like a drain tile. It's going to filter out. It's going to just let the water go through so that your tunnels don't fill up with sediment and get plugged off.
Yep.
That was, in theory, the purpose of the fibers.
Yep.
Right.
So that's a very good question, Seth. Was there really ever any flood tunnels, or was it just simply a natural cavity down there? Now, if you talk to Jeremy Church, he goes with the natural cavity aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't argue against that. We don't know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we just don't know. And his seismic data showed this right here. This is an open cavities down there. What you're seeing in these two lines, this is H8. This line right here is H8. This one over here is C1. So he's down there, well, I say the data is down there, not he's down there, but the data is looking like there is definitely something. Now, if you go back, this teardrop right here in the center, this is his area of interest. It was this teardrop right here, which is darn close to where they're going to be putting this caisson in, this next one. But that's this right here, this teardrop. So, according to his data, this is going to be an interesting caisson that goes down. It really, truly is. And what did we say about the depth of everything out there that's going down in the solution channel? This was a picture shown early on in one of the next time on the Curse of Oak Island pictures. They have no caisson yet that this season that has gone this deep.
No.
And that says 226.5. So Marty said, we got time for 2 shallow or 1 deep.
Well, that's pretty deep right there.
That's pretty darn deep right
there.
So
this is the caisson that we think is left in the ground.
I think this is the one left in the ground. I'm thinking it is. So. I could be wrong, but
that's the Hail Mary pass. Go deep.
Yep, go deep and hit the solution channel. Now, we don't know why they left it in the ground. Was it a mishap, collapse, catastrophic thing going on, or
what did they find? That convinced them to leave it.
Yep. So, I don't know. I'm thinking, I'm hoping they found something. They needed it to wait till summer. Time to flood Jeff's money pit.
Hey, Craig.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that very much. Craig, he comes and hangs out with us in Discord on Tuesday nights talking about the while we everybody watches the show on their own TVs, but we all watch it and we talk about it during the commercials. And Greg is a regular in there hanging out with us, and Tom's in there, and Seth's in there a lot of times. So if you want to come hang out with us in Discord on Tuesday night, links down below in the description of the show.
Yeah, we don't just talk about Oak Island. Often we all end up talking about food.
Food. We were talking about food last night. I don't know how we got on food, but anyway, we just have a good
snacks and fair food and carnival
fair food. That's what it was. Yeah.
It's kind of like a virtual tailgate party prior to the show.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of a tailgate party. Yeah, I admit. So, all right. So I have high hopes once again for a Caisson number 6 going down to the Solution Channel. I hope this is the one. Yeah, Coach, he comes in there and hangs out with us too. Zane once in a while. Yep. We have a lot of
Robert and Maya always there.
Robert and Maya. Hey. All right. So enough of the money pit. Let's wait till next week and see what we got. So let's jump over now. I spawned a whole chat room just and yeah, and one for pets, one for food, and one for pets. I know, yeah. We got pictures of people's pets in there. It's really cool. Yeah, that Maya, she always changes the subject, doesn't she? Yeah. All right, so let's jump over to lot number 5 because we have another new little interesting tidbit over there. Ethan Green was talking about some blue glass that was found. He's found several different pieces of blue glass. He had in a little baggie there, and then they showed, or they also mentioned that blue glass was something they found in the test pit area, which was out in the yard, just outside of the actual where the foundation of the house is. They found some blue glass out there. And then you got Jillian, Helen, and Moya. They're over here working, and they found another trade bead, or half of one, I should say. Did they say that the red was coming from like a copper color?
Yeah, there's some sort of compound
copper in it.
There. I don't recall what it was, but
yeah,
there is some sort of a compound in there that gives it away. Yeah.
So cool. At first I thought, how could she tell that's a bead? But getting this shot of it, I didn't catch during the show the actual curvature of the inside of the bead.
Yeah, there was one that had. Yeah, I didn't grab that picture. There was one where upside down, and you kind of got to look at it there a little bit.
I think.
What?
Oh, I was reading the comment from Mr. Roberts about the flood tunnels.
Ah, well, do tell. Well, come on the show. I'll send you a link. I can say the flood tunnels are real. Ooh. Maybe I should send Jake a link. Here it is. Here you can see the inside of that trade bead there. These beads. These are the different beads that they found there. And so, yeah. Again, the dates are lining up for lot 5 to be pretty important. Oh, not yet.
John says John says it's legit.
Oh, well, prove me wrong.
Cool. I'm excited. I want to hear it one day when we can.
All right, so let's jump over to the swamp.
If they could prove to me the 90-foot the 90-foot stone was real too, that would be cool. Because I poo-poo on the 90-foot stone.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway, sorry.
Again, was it a prop? Was it something used to try to make money to get more investors? And that's why they put this thing in a shop window. You would think that somebody at that time, if somebody created it and they chiseled in there and they created it, somebody would have been able to tell maybe that it wasn't old, that the chiseling was kind of new looking on it or something. I don't know. Who knows? But it was in a fireplace for a while, a fireplace stone in the Vaughn house. Was it in Vaughn house or Smith house?
Yeah, I can't remember now, but yeah, it was supposedly part of the fireplace hearth or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. All right, so let's jump over to the swamp. And now this swamp has been getting more and more interesting all the time. So here the guys are over, and they're now over to that area now where they were looking for evidence of the dam. Look, I gotta quit looking at the chat.
I know. I
looking
get
for
distracted.
evidence of the dam over there. Remember when they were there a couple years ago? They were over on the beach side and they were digging down and they found some wood, or they started finding some wood, and they said, "Okay, we gotta stop here because we can't go any deeper. We need permits to go deeper." Well, now they're looking at it. They got those permits, and now they're digging down in that area and they're trying to find this. And well, they're finding some pretty good things down there. First, they had Gary come along. Gary gets a hit. He said it's an iron hit. Then they find a log down there with a great big long spike in it. This thing was super long. Really, I mean, the thing was probably 2 feet long. Seemed like something like that.
Yeah,
18
it's a
inches,
huge spike.
20
Yeah,
inches,
yeah,
something like that.
spike or wharf pin. Some people call them wharf pins, but
I would think it's a wharf pin. I
no.
think so.
What's a wharf pin? Just a big long spike.
And how deep was this? This thing was buried pretty
It's
deep.
down 4 or 5 feet, I think.
Tom, you and I have talked about this, and Seth many times, about the fact that wood can float in from anywhere
Mhm.
and get stuck in the swamp. But when it's down 4 or 5 feet deep or more, that means it's probably been there a long, long time. So
Yep. No doubt.
keep this in mind. Wharf pin and a log that deep. Keep this in mind as we go along here. They found another pin down there. It was I think I got to pick this one here. And Gary is showing the striations in the metal. And then Tom showed this one. Tom, you got a moment to talk about this?
Yeah, that's let me make it bigger here so I can see it with my old eyes. Yeah, so the top one is another wharf pin, okay? And Gary talks about these striations you see in this hand forged iron, okay?
Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, you can see it all the way down through
grains
the
of
end.
wood.
It's just like grains of wood all the way through it. So I had Carmen look at that one and a picture of it, and he said it's most likely pre-1800. You could tell by the grain and things like that. And then there's another one that I have here that I found myself.
Oh, look at that.
Which is that one in the picture. Okay.
Wow.
Which is
Where did you find this one?
That was on the shore of Grand Manan Island in the Bay of Fundy.
Wow.
Okay. And this one here, you can see there are no grains in it.
Yep.
It's just round iron.
So that's post 1800.
That's post 1800. That's how they know the difference.
Let me get you in here so people can see it a little better. There you
Now
go.
see the line down the middle here?
Yep.
That's because it's machine made.
Ah.
Right? It's pounded out by a machine.
Yep.
That's where that center groove line comes from.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
But you can see there are no grains showing in that at all.
Right.
Right. So we know that's post 1850.
Okay. Good. Now, see, that's what, and you hear Gary when he picks it up, he says, well, why do you, I think Jack asked him, why do you think it's so old? What makes you think it's so old? He said the weight of it. And then he also talked about the striations in it.
Yeah.
The grain of it.
Yeah. And I saw the one that my brother has in Grand Manan. He showed it to me. That's where I got that picture from. Yeah. It's just like you could almost just kind of peel the grains back like peeling apart a corn stalk or something. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And you can see them very clearly in that picture right there.
Hope you got a tetanus shot before you go stepping on those things.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, and here it is. Here's the one he said. Now this one was much shorter, but could it still be a wharf pin? Why not?
Yeah, yeah. Carmen said this one he thought was like for a deck board or like on a wharf or a deck board on a boat on a ship. That's what he thought it was for.
Now here's some of the interesting things. The swamp keeps giving us more and more really cool information, and this is part of it here. They have been chasing this stone pathway through the whole, from the southeast corner of the swamp all the way up to the north end in Geordie's Cove. This was called Geordie's Cove at one point, wasn't it? This one here, I think.
Geordie's Cove,
yeah. Where Nolan's property is here, or house is, in the dock. But this pathway that they've been hunting over time, and right about in here is where that vault was that they found. Right in the middle of the path, they found what they thought was a vault. That, what I'm saying was a vault. I still think it was a vault. It could have been a cold storage, thing. That's very true. It could be. I'm really hoping, and my belief is that it was a vault, and I think it was a vault, you go back to John Edwards' picture in that one book that he had, or that one, it's a picture from a book, I should say, and it shows that vault and or a box in that general area. I mean, could that be part of? I don't know.
I also wondered when he first showed it, before we had discovered this, if that was like representing the eye, or maybe an entrance. Because I've always thought there's tunnels from the swamp to the money pit, and that's why they filled it up. So I was kind of hopeful that that box maybe was the eye, because the eye is plugged with clay, and that's the secret entrance to something. But once we found the vault, it really does look like what's in John's book.
Yep. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, and keep in mind too that we're not talking about the potential of only one thing being there, right? This place was used for hundreds of years by different people. There could be multiple things all over this island.
Yep, multi-generational use of the island. So, yep. Okay. Here again, the stone road, and we showed this before, the stone ramp that they found, the paved area. A lot of things in here, and you guys have heard me say it again and again. Why would you go through all this trouble to get all this? What the man hours to go into making all this?
Because that's the entrance to the money pit.
But I mean, it's was the swamp a medieval landfill? Maybe.
Yeah, see, Coach asked the question, was that Carmen Lake I was referring to? And the answer is yes.
They looked at your
looked at those spikes.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
That's the area that they're looking right now, right out there on the beach. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to show. They talked about this as well. Zena's map. We have had more things showing up corroborating Zena's map than we have anything taken away from Zena's map, in my opinion. And here's another one talking about this dam. Now, they keep showing when on the episodes, they keep circling this, going right here and talking about the dam. That's not the dam. If you look closely at this where it says the basin is pointing at that circle. The dam is pointing to right here. Where they're now looking. Was it a dam? Don't know. I don't think they still know. They don't know. They don't know what it is at this point still. But what they're finding at this point, these big stones down there, I don't know. Here's the one thing that I wanted to show in this picture here. You got a large stone and a wedge in between them. That's another stone. Another big stone and another wedge stone in between them. And then another big stone.
Yeah, I know
That's man-made. That is not jumbled in there. That's man-made.
Yeah, we didn't get to see Ian Spooner's take on this yet, right?
Not yet.
I mean, okay, so I'll hold out for the guy who knows more than I do, but to me, it's quacking a lot like a duck. It looks like a dam. It's set up like a dam. It's right where Zena's map says there's a dam. Steve comes out and goes, "Oh, you got a seawall or something." It's a dam. It's a
yeah.
It's a dam or a causeway.
Or causeway.
A base for a causeway, which can be used for both things.
Right. Yeah. It could act.
Now, could a causeway also help with a wharf?
Oh, yeah.
Could it also be something coming off from a wharf? If that's a wharf pin and that's a log with a wharf pin in it, is it possible that that's the remains of a leftover wharf that was out there at one time?
Now, the thing you have to remember about a causeway, and you can ask Karen Publicover about this. If you build a causeway, the same as the causeway that they built to the island from the mainland, it's got no tunnel, no passage, no way for the water to flow through it. So the back side of that causeway has eventually filled in with sediment. Right? So if you build a causeway anywhere and don't allow water flow the back side of that, so in other words, the swamp, is going to eventually fill full of sediment.
No kidding.
Yep. Yeah. So I threw this picture in there.
Unless you allow for water flow.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I threw this picture in there because it's gonna slosh in there and it's just gonna collect. It's not gonna wash it back out. I threw this picture in there because a lot of people ask, "Where's Billy? Where's Billy? Isn't Billy?" This is Alan Andrews, and he works for Tom Nolan's construction. So and he's working this area, and Billy's been busy with the wash plant and the money pit and everything else. So Alan's been working the this area over here in the swamp. Just wanted to throw that in there. He's got himself in a precarious position there, trying to turn that thing around.
That was kind of a weird spot to put yourself in, wasn't
it? Yeah,
I'm like, look at that guy. He's not afraid to, get in there with that.
Right. Yeah. How do you climb up in and out of that thing in that position?
Oof, I don't know. I thought that was cool.
And you can really see the size of the boulders in that picture as well.
They're
I think,
huge.
like look at those.
Like, I mean, like Jeff and I were talking earlier, like, how do you move those things? It's not a couple of guys with some ropes.
Yeah.
But again, if they moved the stones, the boulders for Nolan's Cross, well, I guess they could move those.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I showed this picture here because that over here is the Nolan house over here, right? You see back there. And so this one is running almost parallel to the beach. So you've got two different lines. Now they didn't dig over here, so we don't know if there's any big stones over there. At least they didn't show us. But that's kind of heading, this line here is kind of heading towards Nolan's house. And then they found this piece of wood in between some of the stones. They pulled this piece of wood out. And I'm assuming they're going to have it dated. It looks like, they had them set it aside and save it. So hopefully and again, I don't know if we'll ever find out what the date was on it. If us, viewers. But anyway, they had that piece of wood there. So we'll see what comes of this. But it was one of those pieces where you just find a random piece of wood, don't bother. But if you find a piece of wood that's wedged in there, like this one was right here, wedged in there, could it have floated in? Yep. But
I don't know. I think that one was placed there.
It looks like it might have been placed there because there was other wood right here that they found as well down in there, mixed in with the boulders. So is it something of importance? Could be. Got to check it out.
Goodness knows.
And is this the same area? This is where they previously did the scan. And is this about where that guy thought there was some sort of structure?
Yes.
Because I kept thinking, they're going to do a flashback to when they did
the never did
ground penetrating radar, and they never did. And I thought, well, I wonder if it's even in the same, maybe it's kind of off, and that's why they didn't bring it up.
Yeah, the guy did ground penetrating radar, GPR. He did run GPR over this area, and they found something down there. And then they went digging, and they started to hit wood, and then they had to stop because they were getting too deep. So, and that's this area right here. So now, you talk about the size of these boulders. Look at these things. They're absolutely enormous. And they make now this is what when Rick was standing down there and he made this, he says, well, we're kind of makes a curve right here. Well, it does.
Somebody was asking questions. Well, could oxen have moved those stones? Absolutely. You hook enough oxen together, you can pull a house down the road.
Yep.
I've got pictures of oxen actually moving houses.
Pulling a boat too. I seen them launching a boat.
Yep. Oh yeah. You put enough oxen together. Yeah.
Carmen had evidence of that. He had pictures of it.
They would move stones like that, no problem.
Yeah.
Put them on skids and move them. Yeah.
Is that in his book about oxen, Jeff?
I believe so. Yes, but he also yes, it does. As a matter of fact, yes, it does.
I've had it on my list to get. I'm going to get it. That just reminded me. I need to buy his books.
Yeah, it does. He has pictures of them. He actually there was an event where they launched a boat and they actually dragged this boat all the way to the slipway so that they could put it in. Yep. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't either.
A single a team of ox could pull thousands of pounds without even thinking about it.
Yeah, here's these rocks
they're just huge animals. They're just huge, monstrous animals. All they have to do is, a small to medium-sized oxen weighs over 1,000 pounds. So all he has to do is lean into it.
Yep.
And he's pulling 1,000 pounds.
Now this is interesting here, this curve. Now this is the line going parallel to the beach heading towards Nolan's property where I pointed the arrow. But why the curve and everything? Now they've all looked at this. They all came to the conclusion that this is man-made. It's not natural.
I agree.
But why? We just don't know. What do you think, Tom? I mean,
they keep referring to the seawall. Well, you only build a seawall if you want to stop the ocean from going somewhere, right? You got something behind that seawall that needs protection.
mm-hmm.
So what was behind that seawall that they were working on that needs protection is the question.
Yep.
Or, was it a causeway? Or both? I don't know.
Yeah. It could have been a causeway of some sort. Yeah, absolutely. But these boulders were put there on purpose and they found them. And again, the swamp just keeps giving us more and more odd stuff to think about, more questions and answers. But what in the heck is all that about? And these are big boulders back here too that are on the back side of that. He couldn't hardly move them with this excavator.
So I have a question. The road on the bottom part of the swamp, that's new, right? Traditionally, the way to the money pit was up on that by the Nolan property.
There is a road that goes, the road that comes in goes, you can take it and go straight up to Nolan's house, and it goes across that northern portion of the swamp, and it goes to the house, and then it actually continues on and goes past the pine tar kiln and lot 15 and all that, and it comes around the backside of Smith's Cove, or up above between 10X and Smith's Cove, and you can curve around over to the money pit from that way.
I would think if that's the older road, because I know they've had to do a lot of work with hurricanes on the part of the road that they use now on the south end of the swamp, or the bottom of the triangle of the swamp. But I would think that the older the road, roads are built on top of trails. So I think that, this was like Tom said, I think this was a causeway. Like he said, this was the original causeway connecting what was two separate islands.
It could be.
And then the swamp got created with all that backfill or sediment and stuff.
Yeah, this is the road where it comes in and goes along past the Nolan property, and then it goes in this way up here. It goes up and comes around to the money pit. Then you've got the road where it turns off and it goes down around the south side of the swamp. But could this have been some sort of they followed this path. This path has been there. Let's see if I get back to those pictures, but that, you talk about this path right here was built.
So if you're going to take all that all the way up to the north side of the East Drumlin, right, then you're going to need a causeway or a bridge to get back over to lot 5.
Yep. And this could have been it.
Because you're not going to paddle a boat around every day from lot 5 to get to the money pit if you're working in the money pit.
Right. All right. Absolutely. And if this was impassable, you're going to have to make some road to get to it. So, but then you also go back to the seawall. If this was a seawall, why did they put it there? Did they put it there so they could create the swamp? Create the swamp in the first place?
I mean, we've seen wooden seawalls in Smith's Cove. The U-shaped structure, in my opinion, was a seawall. It was built there to protect whatever work they were doing behind that U-shaped structure.
Yep, I agree. I think so too.
Sorry, it was getting pretty dark.
Was Tom Nolan correct? Or Fred Nolan correct? Was it once kind of two separate islands with water in between the two, and somebody blocked it off with that seawall at one point, or not intending to block it off? Maybe they put something in there and it unintentionally blocked it off and created the swamp.
Yeah, this filling of the swamp could have just been a happenstance because of the building of the causeway.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and then when the ship sank there.
But if it's a seawall, it's there for a purpose.
Exactly.
Right. If it's not a seawall, then it's just a pile of rocks.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't know, man. This is really, really cool. I mean, this whole swamp thing has just been, I'm so glad that they spent the effort to look into this. And partly of what led them here in the first place, I have to say, was John Edwards, coming up with his talking about, the things in that area from the tree of life attaching on top of the Nolan's cross.
Yep. Full points to John on this one for pointing out those rocks.
Yep. And now they've done all this digging, and here they found all this other evidence in there. Would they have dug here anyway? Maybe. They might have looked around there a little bit, but John's pointing out those spots that they needed to look into has led them to all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all good things that they needed to find. They needed to see this.
Yep.
Yeah. What they're going to make of it, what they're going to be, are they ever going to be able to determine what all of it is for? I hope so someday, but we don't know.
Yeah. And even Rick mentioned last night that he thought it was something that may have been built there to control the flow of water.
Yep.
You can only control the flow of water if the south side of the swamp is blocked off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or is a higher elevation than the north side. Well, we know it's not. It's sea level, right?
Right.
It's between two drumlins. It's flat. It's sea level.
Mm-hmm.
So the only reason you build something to control the flow of water means you can control the flow of water at the other end.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when the tide comes up, it comes up all around the island. It just doesn't come up on one side.
Yep. Did you want to mention anything more about the fish trap stuff? We're getting ready to go to our.
No, I think we pretty much smoked that one out.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's do it. We've got a giveaway again for tonight, and again, it's this. It's a metal plate, metal sign. Like nothing will stop them. The Curse of Oak Island. Got the guys on there, and then we got 2 Roman coins, and this was donated by Michelle Tomeyer. And again, thank you, Michelle. Hello, Linda. How are you?
Hello. I'm in the door.
Oh, and the sun is shining in your.
Yeah, and I can't see a thing.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well,
You can't see me. I can't see you.
Oh, well, we can see you okay. You're kind of lit up on one side. So,
right.
Yeah. All right. So, we got this giveaway again. And I know I repeat myself every week on this, but for those who may be new to the show, we have a giveaway. And this would be something that you have to be a member of our Facebook group page to be eligible for these. Linda will put out a post that shows the pictures of the items that we're giving away in the coming week. And you just simply comment on that post, say yes, and that puts you in. You have to be present at the podcast to win. We spin, get a name, we call it out. You got about a minute to say you're here. And then if we don't get somebody right off that one, then we'll go to the next one. We'll spin again, choose again. So.
And again, and
again, and again. Unfortunately, I think we've only had to do it 3 times. We got a winner finally on them.
Yeah.
Most of the time we get it right off the bat. But again, thank you to Michelle for donating these particular items. Very cool. Roman coins and that sign. Yeah. I would love that.
Michelle has been super generous too.
She really has.
This year.
A lot of stuff that she's given. So
I appreciate that a lot.
Well, Ron says he's here. So
Ron, I'm so glad you're here.
All right, so we're going to do the spin here, and we're going to a lot of names as normal, and we'll see who the lucky winner is for tonight. And again, thank you for everybody who is trying to win something. We see a lot of the same names going by sometimes, but so are you ready, Linda?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get you in solo layout so we can get a better look at the spinaroo.
Yeah, I hope you're able to see this.
I think so.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it.
Uh-oh.
Hang on.
Remix.
What's going?
It's going crazy. Now I have to be able to get back to it. And usually that means I have to watch an ad. Sorry.
Okay. Everybody wins. Send them all a prize.
Everybody gets one. Here we go.
Tim says he's here. Okay. All right. Let's do it again. There we go. So we can see the names. Hold it right there. Wow, look at all the names. Oh, that's incredible. Well, I saw Tim go by. Sorry,
Tim go by.
Mark Yeomans. Mark Yeomans. All right, Mark, let us know if you're here.
Yeah, I don't have Mark on my I have an odd name list. It is a growing list, but right, John, you were so close.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, that if you have a different name on YouTube that you have in Facebook, when you say yes, you got to let us know that, because Mark Yeomans, if you have a different name, you may get missed here. Missed it by that much. Yep, I know. Tim was very close too. Yeah, I saw Tim's name go by.
Yep, Gemini's name was on there.
Yep. All right, Mark, let us know if you're here. You got a little bit of time left.
10 seconds left.
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna have to spin again if you're not here. Yeah, we'll play the Jeopardy music. So, yep. 5, 4. Yeah, somebody's counting. Zane's counting down.
3, 2.
Okay, here we go.
Mark.
All right.
Bueller.
All right. Sorry, Mark Yeomans, for spinning again.
Spin that wheel. Here we go. Ooh.
Darlene Doogie.
Darlene Doogie.
Is Darlene in the house?
Darlene, are you here?
Usually she
Darlene's
is.
usually here.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen her today.
Roll them dice. Darlene D, are you here? Let us know if you're here. Or we're gonna have to move on. I saw your name. I did see it, Betty Allen. I saw her name go by too. No, Darlene. Oh, what? There she is. Did she say something?
Someone said she's here. There
it is, right here. Yep, she did, right there.
There
I'm
we go.
here. Yeah. Yay! Congrats, Darlene.
Okay, I have Darlene's address, so I will get this ready for her and hopefully get it mailed out tomorrow. Thanks,
All right.
Darlene.
Yep, thank you. Congratulations. All right. Yeah,
Bye,
that's
everybody.
really cool. Bye. Thank you.
Got some Roman coins and a cool sign.
Yeah, I like that sign. That thing's pretty sweet. All right. Let's see. Yeah, thank you. I don't know how to pronounce that. Thank you very much. But only 103 thumbs up. What's up with y'all? All right. Yeah, we appreciate the thumbs up. We really do. That's kind of how we gauge it, how we're doing. And it also helps with the YouTube stuff too. So thank you. All right. Leave us continue on. Now we get to the interesting. Well, all of the show I thought was pretty interesting, but this part
It was a good show.
It was a pretty good episode, I thought. And one of the things here that I got to say right off the bat, I snapped this picture, but I said, the Interpretive Center has always been called the Interpretive Center, but now they're calling it the Oak Island Museum. Bum, bum, bum.
So what does that mean?
What does that mean? Well, we got some pictures coming up that we'll talk about what that is meaning.
It means I can go visit and that they've got a cool gift shop that I'm going to buy everything at.
Well, they do have a cool gift shop, but it's not here. It's down the road a little ways.
Yep.
Not far down the road.
Oh, yeah,
and I've been in there, and they got a lot of cool things there. I wanted to buy. Well, we did buy quite a bit of stuff. John K. visitors soon? I don't know. Maybe. All right. So we got the shot here, and we are hearing this particular meeting that they normally would have in the war room, but for some reason they decided to do it in the museum. And Judy Rudebush is going to be giving a presentation for us here, or for them, and for us on the show. There's Marty and Peter. And the books, the two books. Now, these are books that are I was going to say were John Edwards. I don't know if
They still are.
They still are John Edwards. In 10 years there'll be a Solution Channel ride. Yeah, it's the one of those you ride in the log.
Yeah.
Yeah, ride in the log jam. So yes, these two books, and I tell you what, these two books, man, oh man, she's done a lot of research on these, I guess.
Well, she must have done a lot of research. Look at the amount of sticky notes that are in there.
Yeah, yes, and who knows about sticky notes? But good
I can tell you about sticky notes.
Yeah, and me, I've got
You even got them color coded.
Color coded. I don't have mine color coded. They're all yellow on mine.
Got to have your sticky notes.
Yeah, got to have sticky notes. So there is a lot of sticky notes on there. All right, and it says John Eason, not Peter Easton, but John Eason on here.
I saw Caisson, John Caisson. That was when I first saw
John
it.
Caissons.
Caisson.
That's what it looks like, but it's actually Eason. I think that's
Yeah.
Easson. John Eason. Right there behind it. Oh, Leanne, thank you very much. Great insights on this podcast. I hope Oak Island team watches your podcast. I would love it if they did. I don't know. Well, I know some of them have.
Well, we got a couple of researchers looking at right now.
Yeah, a couple of researchers are out there giving their 2 cents worth, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And yeah, that's what's really cool, right? Like we get, very lucky to have guests come on and talk to Jeff, but even just in the chat, like we got John Edwards and Jake Roberts, Gretchen's in the chat a lot. Like we have so many people that have been on the show. I know I'm leaving people off, but yeah, what a great.
We appreciate it very much. We've had, oh gosh, I was just thinking about the Vikings. Doug Simmons has been around quite a bit.
Doug's probably in there somewhere tonight too.
Oh yeah.
And Scott Clark has been on, he's been on the show. He's been around watching sometimes. And Scott, 32nd degree Freemason. He was in the shown again with John Edwards, and they were talking about the Knights of Malta this time, which is Jim McQuiston. Yep,
Jim
Zig,
McQuiston,
thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Templings, Viklars and Templings. Oh, I like that. That's pretty good. And so these were some of the books that he had brought to the table for them to go through and get some information from. And they had these weird little markings inside. Weird little markings. What kind of looks like a menorah and a cross that kind of looks like the new 8-point cross that is from the Knights of Malta. Or from Malta. There's another one. Look at that.
They even wrote Malta.
And it even says Malta right underneath it. So, yeah, really, really cool that these books would have that. And then there was this one, of course. This is they don't have this book. And I don't know if John is still here, but I believe this was just a picture of a book that he had. Because they were looking for this particular book, not this, this actual book that had this drawing in it, because they needed to date the ink and then do that kind of stuff and really try to vet this as much as they possibly could. Because again, we were talking about this earlier, and Seth brought this up, that little square box, and it points right to what looks like the area of the north end of the swamp where they found a rock box made out of rocks. Was this pointing to a vault? I was thinking it might have been finger drains or something. I don't know. But you got a ship out there showing the ocean and then pointing right to where this box is. I don't know. And then you've got these 3 spots here that we were talking about. Those 3 look like cave-in pits or 3 areas that just on the mainland. That was Henry DeWitt.
Yeah, those actually exist. Yeah, those sinkholes, whatever you want to call them, they're actually
sinkholes
there.
That were just on the mainland.
Yep, they're actually there. Yep.
Yeah, they're actually there. So, what's that? Hoping to get the water bottle. Oh, all right. I'm gonna have to double check on that because I was certain it was. Oh, it's okay. Yep, I got to check with Jess on that because she was supposed to be shipping that for you. So let me check on with Jess. Sorry, Tim. Yeah, that I got to follow up on that. I thought it was already on the way to you. My apologies. So this was really cool, but they really wanted to try to get this thing vetted and find out how real, or if it's real or what, because all they had to go on was this particular picture. But yeah, Judy Rudebush, researcher, very good presentation that she went through talking about these books that she has. And this was interesting right here. The Order of St. John the Baptist, then the Hospitallers, Hospitalers, or Hospitalers, it's pronounced. I don't know what the proper pronunciation
Hospitaller, I
is.
guess. Yeah.
Hospitalers. And somebody asked about that last night in Discord, and we were talking about that. And they were instrumental in being a hospital or doctors, I guess, for the Crusades, during the Crusades.
Yep.
So
that's actually the same symbol that they use for the St. John's ambulance people here.
Really?
Interesting.
That run first aid services. Yeah.
Yep.
Order of St. John.
Mm-hmm. And then you got the Knights of Rhodes and the Knights of Malta. I didn't know about the Knights of Rhodes. I had no idea about that particular one. I heard about the others, but not that one.
Right. I didn't know that they had moved to Malta. I thought the Knights of Malta were just always in Malta and took the name Knights of Malta after the, Templars got disbanded. But so this was, it was cool to learn that they had moved, from Jerusalem to Rhodes to Malta, or I guess Cyprus was in there too, right?
Yeah, Cyprus was in. Yeah, they had to keep moving. Right?
Yeah,
Here's
Cyprus right here.
They were on the wanted list. They had to keep moving.
Yep. Yeah, Cyprus to Rhodes to Malta, which is just off of Italy, and then made their way up to Rome. This was great. I would love to have been in that room or seen the entire thing, because we have to assume, as we always do with these presentations, we only get a little piece of it, and it might have went on for hours.
Oh my goodness! Really, yeah, what do we get? Like maybe 30 seconds or a minute of sound bites? Really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, little bits and pieces of it. And I would love to have been in this room and got to hear this entire presentation, because
she says, Templars once, and then you get a 30-second flashback of guys.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly.
Field, right?
It always happens.
Yeah.
But the Knights of Malta, and was said in here, they fought with. Now, here's the other thing was that the Knights of Malta, she had said, fought with the Templars.
Mm-hmm.
Started as the Hospitallers in Jerusalem, the Knights of Rhodes, then on the Knight and the Hospitaller with the hospital, basically, for the Crusaders, to Malta. And she said 1550. So they made their way over. But the Knights of Malta, I guess, fought with the Templars.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Templars had to skedaddle or whatever, and they made their way out of there. Then they talked about, this here too. They were talking about, this is actually in Malta, I guess, here. Over the past decade, various urban regeneration schemes have also disturbed the dormant Valletta underworld. In 2009, the city conducted a archaeological survey under the St. George Square next to the presidential palace in order to build an underground car park, and found a lost tunnel. Would that not be awesome to be able to see all that stuff going on? And I believe this is on Malta. This is on the island of Malta. It was used by the Knight's chief hydraulic engineer. How do you get a title like that, right? And then you see this. I guess this is like a handle or a door knocker or a drawer pull or something. I don't know if that's a door knocker or, but yeah,
some kind of a crest or a symbol or some, it's got the St. John's crest on it.
Yeah, with these fish, and I don't know what the fish represents. Did they say on the show?
Using fish and or representative of fish, or dolphins, sometimes they refer to, or often a sign of upper echelon or royalty.
Yep. Then she was pointing out some different things that we've seen this symbol, the star, or the cross, I should say, the 8-point cross now, and somebody came across some maps. And I thought this was very interesting that this map has a lot of these on them. And this gentleman happens to be sitting right here between Seth and I. I'm going to
throw that map back up there again.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are supposedly French maps, and when Judy said 1632, I went, okay. So we got James McQuiston's area in there somewheres. But that's also the era of Champlain, Bacon, all the French guys were poking around here. So I've got this little book that was written in 1883 okay, about the local history of St. John, which is close to where I live. It involves the Bay of Fundy, involves Nova Scotia, involves Champlain, it involves Annapolis Royal, Port Royal, those things. And the one thing that Jake Roberts has broken me on now is I see all these maps and pictures and I go, you know what? I used to look at these things at one time and think, oh, that's kind of cool. Look at all the neat artwork they did there. But they didn't do this stuff for fun, right? This stuff's all got messages in it, right? It all means something. So I went back and looked at these maps from the early 1600s, supposedly French maps, and they're done by a famous cartographer from France who you know, we know who he is. But if you look up in the upper left-hand corner where the crest is, you've got the cross, right? The St. John's cross, or the, you know, the Malta cross.
Right here.
But then if you zoom in underneath where it says Canada, you see where it says Canada there, just a bit of
Right
the right
here?
of that?
Mhm.
No.
Nope. Oh, right here.
Right here.
Yeah.
Just zoom in right there for a second.
All right. Let me get back to my pointer so it'll zoom.
Look at the stuff they put in there. Okay.
Yeah.
You got the fleur-de-lis and more crosses.
This is the fleur-de-lis right here.
The fleur-de-lis.
And there's crosses.
But what's the cross doing there?
Looks like a cross on the other side as well.
There's
Right
crosses
here.
all up. This is what would be the St. Lawrence
Another
River.
fleur-de-lis.
Yep, this would be the St. Lawrence River that runs in above northern New Brunswick, Quebec. You know, we always talk about the supposed track of the Templars going into central Canada. The hidden, you know, someone that knows a lot more about this stuff than me has got to, you know, get behind some of this and look into it. But these things are full of those hidden type messages.
There's got to be some messages in all that squiggly lines that they add to their fancy lettering too.
That picture,
because I'm like, what's up with all those extra squiggles?
Yeah, lots of extra squiggles right here and right
Those
here.
all mean something.
Jake, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does it mean?
So I can't look at any of these maps now without seeing this stuff. You broke me.
No.
So, you know, if you go over to the right-hand side of that map, even if you zoom back out on it, okay, there's the Maritimes. There's Nova Scotia, Cape Breton, Newfoundland, right? All down in there.
Yep.
And if you zoom in on those places, there's all kinds of cool symbols down there too.
That's a cool little compass they've got too.
Yep. You know, there's all these, you know, messages that are in there that goodness knows what they mean.
Oh my. This is a very, very interesting. I love looking at these maps, and Jake was on and we were going over, this was, oh my gosh, over a year ago, and we were going over some of the maps that he had. And hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Jeremy. Yeah, just so many symbols in here. It just blows me away that
you know, I always used to think these were just fish jumping or whales and porpoises and dolphins.
Yeah.
But they're not. They mean something. And to the educated eye, they can interpret this thing. Those all mean something.
Now there was another map too. This one was very cool. This is Atlantic Canada, right?
That one there is Atlantic Canada. This one is, you hear them talk about Port Royal or Mount Royal or whatever, you know, that the British and the French fought over in the western side of Nova Scotia. Well, this would be what they would call Digby now, right? And if you zoom in on that, then there's a similar type messages, you know, things in there. But even if you go to the right-hand side of that map and zoom in right there, right where your pointer is, right? It says dolphin.
Oh,
dolphin.
Right here, yeah.
Yep. Which, you know.
Now, wasn't there somebody that had a moniker that was a dolphin?
Yep.
Who was that, Jake?
We could ask Jake.
Jake, who had the moniker of dolphin or something like that? Somebody had, that was like their thing. But you see him here. I don't know. Is that supposed to be a dolphin right there? I don't know.
Don't know. Then you go over to the right-hand side or the left-hand side of that map where the crest is again and zoom in on it, on the crest. And there's your cross again.
Right there.
Yeah.
So could those fish on that one door knocker thing have been dolphins?
Subject to interpretation, I guess.
Yep. Who was called the Delphine? There
it's kind of cool. Kind of cool to see. But
son of Francis II.
That map there was supposedly 1609. was what the information was taken for that one.
Yeah,
Which again,
1609.
during that 1600 to 1632 period, you've got, the French, the English, the Portuguese were here 100 years before that. They were all here. They were all drawing maps. They were all taking information home. They were fighting over land. So it's just an interesting time when all these people were here doing what? Some were here for, just for the sake of acquisition of land and trade. Others were here for other purposes.
Oh, maybe AI could. That's interesting. That would be an interesting thing to try.
Right? Teach it to use some ciphers and let it go.
This right here would be interesting to see if we could figure that all out. Somebody's crest.
Well, what's the on the bottom of the crest? It looks like an owl or something on the left-hand side. What's on the right-hand side?
I don't know. Something that has wings, but yet is not a
but what?
bird.
Yeah, it's not a bird. So what? So you got to somehow interpret what those wings mean being attached to that, whatever it is.
The lion in the middle looks like a lion on the
Sort
shield.
of a lion, yeah.
A fox with wings. Yeah, it does. I don't know. Is that a flying fish? I don't know what that would be. I'm a bat.
Flying
Maybe
dolphin.
that
I
one.
don't know.
Yeah. Lisa says a bat. I hear that dragons were real. Yeah. A griffin? Oh, maybe a griffin. I don't know.
It's kind of neat to see.
Oh, it is. I love looking at these things now. Ever since Jake got me into this, I get fascinated by looking at these maps. There's so much here to see. It just blows me away. I could stare at them for hours. Really cool. And you look at the date of it too. So yeah. Lion of Stuart and a griffin. Oh,
there we go.
And a griffin. Wow. See there? All right.
Jake knows things. Jake knows things.
He does know things. He's an educated guy. Yep. Yep, he is. All right. So interesting maps for sure. I love this stuff. Canadian goose, maybe. So
my favorite one was Rocky the Flying Squirrel.
Yeah.
That was David Henderson who said that.
Moose and squirrel. Moose and squirrel. All right. So this gentleman here, Isaac Durasley, direct descendant of Davaliers.
Sounds good.
I hope I'm saying this right. Yeah. The Davaliers, Grand Masters of Malta. He settled in Le Havre, settled at Le Havre River, which was the capital, according to what Judy was saying, which also has connections with Lot 5. They've found a lot of things on Lot 5 that might have something going on with this. So this gentleman here, tied with the Grand Master of Malta, the Davaliers, 1632 to 1633, right around there, settled in the Le Havre River area, capital. That was his capital. She called it his capital. Is this a coincidence? I don't think so. You've got the Templars and the Knights of Malta, and then you've got people that were part of the Knights of Malta or tied with the Knights of Malta, the Grand Masters of Malta, showing up in Nova Scotia. I mean,
the other thing to consider too is that we know that there was the original Templars. Some of them fled to Portugal. Okay, and the Portuguese, we know, were here in the Maritimes mapping well in advance of 1600. I think the earliest map I saw was 1550.
Yep.
Okay, so Portuguese Templars were here, or someone who would know a Portuguese Templar were here 50 years in advance of when these people were here, or more.
Yep.
You think that information didn't get passed around?
Oh, I do believe
Right?
it was.
Where did we find a Portuguese road?
Yeah.
In a certain swamp on
In
a
a
certain
certain
island.
swamp, southeast corner.
Mm. So
Yeah,
these
and
guys
that
have been exchanging information back and forth. Absolutely.
yeah, and they to Malta in 1550. You mentioned 1550.
1550, the Portuguese were here,
Yeah, and the
mapping
Templars are
in
showing
and
up
around
at
the Bay of
Malta.
Fundy in Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they were here almost 100 years before this gentleman showed up.
right. Yeah, that's an AI generated picture for sure. I mean, that's
Yes, it is.
pretty
Yeah,
obvious.
it says right on the show it's AI generated.
Yeah, digitally generated image.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. So, and then Judy went on to show. Remember when they found this, and this is where she said ties to lot 5. You see this item right here was found on lot 5. I forget what season was it. Season 11. I think I don't remember if it was season 11 or season 10, but they found this item right here was a button. And it has that counterclockwise rays of a sun going counterclockwise. And then the Knights of Malta uniform has a button on the collar that is virtually identical. Was that the button of someone's collar that was on lot 5? And the dates and everything kind of lining up in the early 1600s? Is it a coincidence? Are they really the same?
I thought, I wanted to believe. At first I thought, well, starburst, that's kind of a generic design. It's like a spiral. You're going to see that in a lot of different places. But this is a really key point right here with that split in the ray. What are the odds of that?
That's the part that made me convinced that there was something more here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, this last one down here, whoop, whoop, and it comes out and goes straight. Look at here.
Yeah.
The
circular ray thing, I could kind of say, okay, well, happy coincidence. But now you have the split in the rays. So that's two things in the same, design. So that's what makes me convinced that that they're related.
It's for real. I think she's
related.
spot on.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Jake said, "I love the split in the ray."
Mm-hmm.
Judy, I think Judy's on it. I think she's spot on here. I mean, so if this guy, and I'll botch his name one more time, Isaac. I'm just going to say Isaac. If this guy Isaac was there in La Have River at La Have River, why was, and he was tied to the Knights of Malta. Why would this button show up on Oak Island? You're right.
I don't know.
Jake, Judy is a great researcher.
Yes. I'd love to have seen that whole presentation.
I would have given anything to almost anything to have been in that room during that presentation.
We got buttons like these that are potentially a Knights of Malta button. We got the, high British officer button. Ask a guy like Laird. There's no reason to be finding these things on the island. Unless.
And you can tie, like I say, you can go back and you can tie from the time of the Portuguese, 1500s, who we know that they were, the Portuguese have been sailing forever, right? Who were tied in with the Templars, the Masons. I mean, whatever version you want to call them, right? And these guys were a secret society, and they passed information around.
Absolutely, and they kept it within their secret societies.
Yep.
As they went down the years of these secret societies, they kept it within their secret societies all the way through.
And were there other people?
Go ahead.
Yeah, were there other people here? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Because part of the hierarchy was, the daughter of one king married the son of another, and different. So information did get exchanged that way, right? So that could easily explain why other people from other countries were here as well.
Yep.
We know they were all here. It's a question of what they were up to.
Yeah, and the Templars wasn't one of the main reasons for them getting betrayed by the Pope and King of France was that they weren't giving all of their treasure and artifacts over to the Pope.
Partly, yes.
So we've got a history of a group that isn't going to give all of their stuff to the authorities. So that's why it makes sense to me why a guy like Phipps would say, "Oh, I don't know where the locals they took all the silver." No, come on. Yeah, and I interrupted you, Tom. All right,
the Templars were just getting too rich.
Yes,
right?
And King
the guy
Philip,
with the gold, the guy with the gold makes the rules, right? And
right.
Didn't like the fact that they had more gold than him.
And King Philip of France was indebted to them very much, and he wanted some of that money. So he worked with the Pope at the time and decided that they were going to pull this, thing on the Templars, saying that they were spitting on the cross and on and everything about it was all
right.
made
Yeah,
it was all made up to bring them down.
Mm-hmm.
Leanne, can you invite Judy to come on your podcast to complete her presentation? Yes, I can, and I don't know if it'll ever happen. Yes, she has been asked. Thank you, Linda. And maybe one day is all we can hope for.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day. I always the thing goes with me, and all these guys will answer to this, whether it be John, Jake, or Bill Smith, or any of them. I ask once. Even the guys on the island, I'll ask once, and then I'll leave it alone. I'm not going to bug them. They know that the invite's out there. Scott Barlow's been asked. He's appeared with other people, but he's been asked, and he respectfully declines to come on by himself and do anything. Well, that's fine. He knows the invite's out there. So I do the same thing with Judy. Maybe one day. I would love to have her on. Love to have her on the show. So again, she's spot on with this. So I don't know, folks. You put these things, and this is the thing, and I've said this before. I'm going to say it again right now. People are looking at where's the treasure? Where's the treasure? Oh my God, they're never going to find any treasure. The show is stupid because they won't find treasure. But look at the things that they're finding. This history to me is treasure in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people agree with me on this. This right here is cool stuff.
Well, let's imagine that they find the treasure next episode. What if they went, "Sweet guys, we found it. High five. No more episodes, no more show."
I'd be pissed.
Exactly. Exactly. So that alone,
put it back.
Yeah, we're not in it for the treasure. We're in it for the story.
I want to know the who, what, why, where, when, and how.
Exactly. And the treasure is going to help answer that. So I'm more interested. I'm not going to get a piece of the treasure. Why do I care? So I want the story, which I think the treasure will help answer and fill in so many gaps.
Yeah, absolutely. This is cool stuff. I love every bit of this. The different.
I think so too.
That's a very good point.
I think Kathy's right. I was thinking of that too.
That's great.
That's the number of splits or the number of different arms coming off that would somehow indicate
rank.
Secretly your rank.
Wow. So this person that dropped this button must have been a pretty high ranking official, because there's more than one split. There's quite a few splits on there if you notice, but Jeremy, I'd be I would be very upset, because I want to know. And I'm like Rick in that respect. I want to know. I want to know the who, what, why, where, when, and how. I really do. So and the trade beads that have been found. I mean, you run out of room on the button. Pretty soon it's just all one color.
Just a big black dot.
Yeah, big black dot. That's pretty high ranking official right there. But yeah, these beads are all cool. And here's the thing that I wanted to show. All right, so yeah, we'd love to have Judy on. Maybe one day we will, because I would have loved to have been in that presentation. I think she's spot on with all of this. going on that she's done here. This is great stuff. Now I'm gonna
carrying on Zena's legacy as well.
Yes, and I think, like I said about Zena's map, a lot of people, and you hear Marty quite often says Zena's map, if true. He always throws that out there, if true. And again, we all have to say that if it's true,
if it's real, faked, they were just the luckiest people ever with their guesses.
They've just come up with too many things that have not been known in the last 600 years, and all of a sudden they're finding these things on the island that are on her map.
Mm-hmm. Well,
if that person drew that map back in 1943, they wouldn't have known about this dam. They wouldn't have known about some of these other parts that have been found from her map. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
I can say, the thing with all these things that they find, or at least some of the things that they find, most of the things they find, is that they logistically make sense. Right? It's not just some, oh, well, let's go put an X over here. Oh, look what I found. Mm-hmm. What they present can physically, logistically make sense.
Yep.
All right. The thing is, and because it logistically makes sense, it cannot be disproven.
Right.
What we have to do is, like Rick says, find that one thing that proves it. Because we've got a pile of circumstantial evidence.
Yeah, boy, do we.
Yep.
Literally piles of it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? And it's something that we've said, we talked about the multi-generational use of Oak Island. And I think that, we've had so many researchers, Jake included, and Tom, well, Tom, you're a researcher too in your own right. And John and Gretchen and just Corian and Christopher. All these people. Could they all be partly right in this whole thing? Could most all of them have, you talk about the multi-generational use of Oak Island. Could all of them have some portion be true?
Absolutely.
Of their research?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Phipps and Belcher from Scott Clark. Now the Knights of Malta.
We know they were all
the
here.
Vikings with Doug.
Mm-hmm. We know Vikings with Doug. We know they were all here.
Yes, we do. We really do.
Simple, you talk about Doug Simmons. You talk about something simple as a butternut acorn.
Yep. Butternut acorn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where do you find those? Right. Where do you find a certain type of vine that they found in Newfoundland? Well,
exactly.
Go back, do the research, and you'll find out these are only found in certain spots. Mm-hmm. So in order for that to get from point A to point B, somebody had to take it there.
Yep. So yeah. So it's one of those things where it makes you take that into consideration when you think about how difficult it is for Rick and Marty and the team to figure this thing out when there's so many people that have been involved in all of this and going on Oak Island. Tell me why it's not so easy. Yeah, go ahead.
You're reminding me of what Rick was saying last night's episode, where he was kind of just talking about just how many years, 200 plus years, people have been trying to figure this out.
Right. And these guys, Rick and the Laginas and the team, the research or the Fellowship of the Dig, have come closer than anyone else to finding the, and uncover all of this.
Just to figure out the mystery. Just to figure out the mystery.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a fellowship, because it wasn't one person. It wasn't one generation that deposited this and created the mystery for us. It was, a long planned out thing with a lot of man work and a lot of secrecy. So it's going to take equal, if not 100 times more, that amount of effort to uncover, what they did 100 plus years later.
They've surrounded themselves with professionals that work on the island every day. This is just not, Tom going down there with a survey stick trying to, you got people like Guptill and Spooner and Laird and, his team.
Bringing in the professionals.
These are professionals. They know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to speculate. They're going to say, okay, here's what we know, and here's what conclusions we can draw from what we know.
Yep.
Then you get your researchers out there. You got your Jakes and your Johns and your Gretchens and Dougs.
Scots.
All Scots, and all those people are all credible.
Jim McQuistons and all those.
Yeah, all credible researchers in their own right.
Absolutely. And they could all be right.
Mhm.
with their area of expertise and research. They could all be right.
Anyway, that's my ramble.
Yep. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, folks. All right. Now, the one thing I want to show real quick, we're getting up on 2 hours here, so I'm going to run through this here, but I wanted to show this room again. Look at the room, folks. This is the Oak Island Museum. They're now calling it the museum. Look at look at the walls. I mean, we have not seen this in a long time. This museum. Remember, they used to do their little war room presentations with not war room, but they had the table when they'd bring Carmen in and look at something. They used to have the table used to be in this room with a curtain in the back. I remember that. And but look at some of the stuff that's in here. What do you notice back here in the corner? What's this right here?
Oh, yeah, that was what they had. That's the stone they brought back from
That's
the
the
basement.
stone they brought back.
Oh yeah,
is that the 90-foot stone?
Not a hope.
I don't know. Not a hope. Yeah, probably not, but it's interesting. It's part of the museum now. You got all these pictures on the wall. You've got display cases back here with trees and stuff in them. You got, I mean, look at this room, folks.
They're getting ready.
There it is. There's that stone again. I'm looking in the background at all this stuff.
Have you got the shot with the underground cart in the background? With
yep. That's coming. What's this thing?
Yeah, I didn't know what the heck that was.
I can't get a clear enough picture to see what that is, but that's an interesting looking piece right there. There's the old
underground
plank cart.
Wow.
That ran
Which,
on tracks.
Makes you wonder, if these tunnels are 3 and 4 feet high.
And then they find this size gauge of steel wheels from a train on Nolan's property on the mainland.
On the mainland,
right across. It's now Karen Publicover's property.
Karen's property, I think. Yeah.
They found some wheels.
But we know they use rails on the island too. There's old photos showing the little trolley carts that they would use to go to and from the money pit when they were digging to dump it.
Yep. And this thing here behind Judy there, you know what I think that is? And I'm just going to throw out a guess that this was, and it made me think of the rest stalls. When they show the rest stalls, sometimes they show something running down a cable to take
a barrel. It's a
45-gallon
drum that they cut the top off of and suspended it from a cable, and they shoot it up and down on this.
That looks like two
hose-line-like structure. Yeah.
Yes,
you're right.
That looks like the two little pulleys that run down the cable. I don't know if it is
spot
or not.
on. No, I think you're right. Because I was looking, I go, what are those little pulleys for? But it's to run on a cable.
Yeah. I want to get in here. Now, I'm going to just throw this a question out there. Does this all set up like this mean that we're getting closer to public opening of the museum? I don't know, but it sure. I thought it was pretty cool to see that because I'm thinking, man, we might have an opening soon. Why else would it be all set up like that? I don't know. Maybe John Kez, maybe. Yeah.
I think it'll all depend on how much activity they plan for the island this summer. The parking lot's only so big.
I know that's the bad part. They got nowhere for everybody to park because there will be thousands of people trying to. I mean, how many people every day go to the end of the causeway and stand there and look across the causeway? Well, I was one of them.
When they used to have the tours, they were sold out in a couple of hours.
Yep.
For an entire season.
Yep. I know. All right. Next time on the Curse of Oak Island, we're going to have a good one, I think. They ran GPR over that. I think this was that handheld walking one. I don't know. But Peter Finetti was involved in this. But this is some kind of a structure. He said it was 4 feet down, 14 feet long.
Yep.
And that's over there on the end of the north end of the swamp where they were doing all their digging over there.
Yep.
4 feet down, 14 feet long. So they're going to be looking at that. Somebody here with a pinpointer finds a metal hit. So they're excited about whatever it was he found. Again, he gets very excited about that.
It's probably off a treasure chest.
Could be a strap off of treasure.
It could be.
This is off a treasure chest.
And I had to show this. They find something in lot 5 that's pretty cool.
Chest,
that's off a treasure chest. It's a spike. Yeah, kind of big, but never know.
Big chest.
Yeah, and then Fiona finds something over here kind of interesting, and look at her. Ooh, what?
Mm.
Treasure.
I'm sorry, Jack, if you happen to be watching. I'm sorry, but I thought that was kind of funny. He gets very excited about stuff, and I love that about
Jack's
Never
a believer.
changed. Yeah,
Jack's a
never
believer.
changed, Jack.
Nope, never changed. Very excited about what she's just found. He's jumping up to go have a look at it.
Jack probably acts the way that Rick feels inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Zane says right there, his reactions are the best. They are truly. Yeah. It's so funny. Jack is a hoot. Yes, he is. And I tried to get a look in her hand to see what it was she had. I think it might be this next picture. We don't know, but because I saw that and I'm going, well, that's not what this next picture is. But she was very excited about it. And I think she said, what did I write down here? Was it a bead? Because we got this right here shows up that they are looking at. And it was called The Only One of Its Kind. The only one of its kind. And then we heard Emma say medieval times.
Medieval
time. An emerald bead. Is that an emerald bead?
Could be.
Wow. Yeah. So next week's show, is called Solution. They're working to get inside of the Solution channel. And look at Laird's face when he saw that bead.
I don't know. What's the stuff all doing here?
Right? And we get to go over to Malta. Whoop, whoop. We get the trip to Malta.
Wow. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, good stuff. I can't wait. Next week, I think it's going to be another good one. This was a good show. I really did enjoy this particular episode. We'll get to see next week if they find this Solution channel. And I think this is going to be the Caisson that goes down past 200 feet down. And I also want to believe that this is the one that's going to get left in the ground for the whole winter. Now, why did they leave it? We don't know, but we'll find out soon, won't we?
What did Rick say when they talked about possibly going to Malta? He made a comment about, but you're going to have to validate the reason we're going. Like, convince me there's a reason to go, and we'll go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we'll go. And there went. So there must have been a good reason.
There must have been a good reason. He said
I
validate.
Think,
he said it's going to take a lot of homework to validate a trip.
Yeah. Yeah. And Judy brought it. Mm-hmm. She brought it. Mm-hmm. This was really, really good stuff. And I think that, it definitely warrants a trip to Malta to see what they did. And they're talking about all these tunnels and stuff underneath that they found and stuff. It's like, my goodness. Who's capable of doing all that? The Templars were. Apparently, so were the Knights of Malta. Were they the same? Were they the Templars? Did the Templars go there? It kind of seems that way, doesn't it? So
yeah, everywhere they go, there's tunnels.
There's tunnels. Yeah. Look at the ones that Corian found all over the place that he took them to that have Templar symbols carved in the walls and on the ceilings and everything else. So
I mean, you think about it, a tunnel was the safest place, or underground was the safest place to go with anything valuable. You didn't keep it above ground.
Nope. Nope. You didn't put it where everybody could see it. I love me a good tunnel. One more hour? No, I don't think so. We're going to have to call it quits right at 2 hours right now.
Well, let's start talking about Bigfoot. We can go now.
Bigfoot on Oak Island. Somebody was talking about that last night. Oh, you were?
Yeah. I made AI draw a picture of Vikings and Bigfoot meeting up on Oak Island.
Bigfoot. That was pretty good. You should have brought that picture tonight. I'll have to go back and get that and show that next week.
Okay.
The Vikings meet Bigfoot. Yep, there they go. Mm-hmm. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We really, truly appreciate everyone being here. You had a great night. Had a lot of fun. Tom and Seth, you guys always bring it. Thank you so much. And Linda, appreciate your work and Jan for working up another awesome synopsis.
Jan, another great synopsis. Thank you.
Mhm.
Putting this all together. I tell you what, it takes a team, folks, and I have a wonderful team right here. I really, truly do. And I really appreciate all of you joining us too, and the
Yeah.
chat and stuff that goes on here. With that said, good night for everybody, and we'll catch you next time right here on the J Free 906 podcast. Good night, everybody.
Good night.